I was in New York City recently, the first time since Trump's victory. Beefed up security made JFK, that monument to creaking US infrastructure, feel like a police precinct. There was more checks in the city than sex in the city. I mean, everyone's taking sides. You're either Trump-tastic or you think he's an ass. And with the airwaves full of noise and bluster and the country divided right down the middle, it's kind of difficult to get any clarity about what happens next for the US economy. So let's get on the phone to the finest economic maven of them all, Mr. Paul McCulley, to get his view from Newport Beach.
Morning, Mr. Mac. Listen, my friend, the biggest question in the years ahead is not whether Mr. Trump is going to say or do something stupid. I guarantee you that he will.
I'm very highly educated, but there's no better word than stupid.
The big question is whether or not he's going to go to war with the Fed. And if he does, who wins? The bottom line, David, is who gets to set the speed limit for the economy? The answer is grounded in a wonky concept called potential growth. Bear with me. In the long run, an economy's growth potential is determined by 1, growth in population, 2, advances in technology, and 3, productivity growth, which means can we make more with less? But in the long run, of course, we're all dead, as Keynes famously intoned. What really matters is the demand side, not supply potential.
Okay, Paul, now I get it. So demand is the key, and that's what drives unemployment, inflation, and interest rates, and thus, in turn, stocks, bonds, and exchange rates. So obviously then, politicians, they're going to try to push the economy into booms to win elections.
Precisely, Mr. McWilliams. And when they do, what matters is 1, the economy starting point, where you are on the unemployment rate, and 2, what policy levers the government uses. The mix of levers really matters. Macro policy has 2 arms. One is fiscal policy, using debt finance, government spending, and tax cuts to directly increase demand. The other is monetary policy, using lower interest rates to drive up asset prices to coax wealthier asset holders into spending more. A healthy mix, David, is a bit of both. A 2-armed policymaker. Unfortunately, Mr. Obama was forced by those Tea Party zealots to tie the fiscal policy arm behind his back. So the heavy lifting fell to the Fed, using uber-easy monetary policy, driving interest rates to 0 and keeping them there year after year after year after year. This approach worked over time by driving up asset prices, bonds, stocks, and real estate, making people richer and coaxing them to spend. But who owns those assets? Rich people, of course. That's why they're rich. The income of poor people and many middle-class families depends on their wages, not their brokerage account. And the real wages of the average American household have been stagnant for the last decade, while long-term asset prices have soared. This has opened up the biggest gap of my lifetime between the rich and everybody else. Now, let me be clear here, David. I'm not criticizing the Fed. The Fed didn't have a choice. But the upshot of super easy monetary policy was greater inequality and also a lower bang for the buck, as rich people hoard money while poor people spend it. Fiscal expansion is a much more egalitarian lever of stimulus, especially government spending. It gets money into the wallets of average people who spend it with dispatch, especially those who live paycheck to paycheck, which, David, is half of American households. And they aren't deplorables. Their lives matter too. They just have lousy paychecks, and they vote. Trump won by telling the average guy he'd make him better off.
Win. You're gonna get so tired of winning.
Accordingly, Trump has to get the economy growing faster, or he's going to be orange-colored toast. Trump wants 3 or 4% growth too, in his own words.
We'll make America great again. Thank you.
And the only way to get there is with bigger fiscal deficits. And that's exactly what stocks, bonds, and the US dollar have been betting in recent months.
Yeah, Paul, I get this, but won't the Fed try to stop him? I mean, by raising rates in March, hasn't the Fed signaled that it thinks the economy is now near full employment? And isn't the Fed concerned that unemployment falling a lot further would set off a wage price inflationary spiral? Yet what you are saying is that Trump needs growth now to deliver for his people. So what gives?
This is a battle, David, between democracy and technocracy. A battle between the mandate the president was given by the people and the technocracy, the unelected Fed officials who want to set limits to growth. It's the people versus the elite, as Steve Bannon might say. So who wins? The reason, David, that the Fed has posted a 2% speed limit is because the unemployment rate has already fallen from 10% to below 5%. Any further fall for the unemployment rate, in the Fed's view, would run unacceptable risk of inflationary wage gain. If the president wants to step on the fiscal policy gas to get growth to 3–4%, the more likely it will be that the Fed will want to tap the monetary brake to pull growth back towards 2. So we're in a game of chicken between the White House and the Fed. Who wins will be the primary determinant of what happens in the next 2 to 4 years. The last 2 times we've had such a game of chicken, the Fed won. Paul Volcker trumped Reagan in 1981, and Alan Greenspan bullied Clinton in 1993. The Fed has been top dog calling all the shots. The issue now is whether or not the Fed will remain the boss under this administration. The populist revolt of the last year changes everything. Remember, David, Republicans always spend money that they don't have when in power, regardless of what they say when they're in opposition. So this game of chicken could get very interesting. If Trump and Congress enact that fiscal stimulus with the horsepower to try to get 3 to 4% growth, the Fed might just have to underwrite it, letting unemployment drop to 3%. And graybeards like me, David, remember a time before Paul Volcker when Dick Nixon bullied the Fed into creating a 1972 boom.
I burned everything I shot.
Bottom line, David, this means that there's a decent chance, far higher than Wall Street currently thinks, of a slow climb for inflation to 3% by the time that Trump stands for re-election. And maybe, just maybe, David, that wouldn't be a bad thing for both Main Street and democracy itself. And if that turns out to be the case, current lofty Wall Street valuations, grounded in the presumption of 2% forever inflation, have a nasty rendezvous with a new reality. This, my friend, is what populism looks like.
Well, Paul, what you're saying is it's time to hold on to your seats.